Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are unpacking one of the most dramatic, high-stakes product rollouts in the entire history of artificial intelligence. We're tracking the incredible transition from the raw power of Mythos to Anthropic's top-tier Claude Fable 5 architecture. This really isn't just your standard software update story. It's a fascinating, almost crazy look at what happens when AI capabilities suddenly leap forward so far and so incredibly fast that the creators themselves literally have to figure out how to put a leash on it. Okay, let's dive right into this, because this right here is the central tension we're exploring today. How exactly do you take a foundation model that has definitively proven it can autonomously execute advanced cyber attacks and somehow safely package it up for the public? The line between a revolutionary coding assistant and a dangerous digital weapon is, well, it's incredibly thin. To really wrap our heads around the staggering autonomy we're talking about, listen to how developer Simon Willison described it. He said, relentlessly proactive. He pointed out that it knows a whole lot of tricks and it will deploy pretty much any of them to get to its goal. I mean, that kind of agency is absolutely incredible if you're building software. But as you'll see, it's also exactly why the origins of this model were so heavily guarded in the first place. Section 1. The Legend of Mythos. To really understand Fable 5, we've got to rewind a bit. Back in April 2026, Anthropic quietly unveiled Project Glasswing. Under this highly secretive program, they allowed a raw, heavily restricted model known as the Mythos Preview to be tested exclusively by just a handful of enterprise partners, and specifically for defensive cybersecurity purposes. And the results from that preview, honestly, they were mind-bending. During testing, the Mythos Preview autonomously discovered a staggering 271 distinct vulnerabilities within the Firefox browser. But here's the kicker. It didn't just spot them. Out of hundreds of attempts, the model actually successfully wrote working JavaScript shell exploits 181 times. To put that massive leap into perspective, the previous generation model, Opus 4.6, only managed to do that twice. When you look at how this builds across standard industry benchmarks, the qualitative leap Anthropic achieved is just undeniable. On the SWE Bench Verified test, Mythos jumped from around 81% all the way to nearly 94%. And on CyberGym, which specifically measures autonomous security reasoning, it hit 83.1%. Seeing those numbers, it became abundantly clear to Anthropic that this raw, unbridled capability absolutely had to be locked down. It was simply too powerful for a general release. Which brings us to Section 2, Forging Fable 5. Fast forward to June 9th, and the official launch of Claude Fable 5. Now, what's really interesting about this release is how Anthropic managed to take this absolute beast of a model and domesticate it so it could actually be put into the hands of everyday developers. You see, Fable 5 isn't some watered-down, weaker AI. It shares the exact same underlying architecture as that raw Mythos preview. The difference is that Fable 5 is productized. It takes that intense Mythos-class reasoning and wraps it in heavy refusal behaviors to basically trim away those high-risk cyber capabilities. Plus, it comes tied to a strict, non-negotiable 30-day data retention policy. That way, Anthropic can continuously run asynchronous safety classifiers behind the scenes to catch any complex jailbreaks. This successful domestication from Mythos into Fable 5, it represents a fundamental shift in the whole economics of software development. Andrej Karpathy hit the nail on the head here when he observed that working software is increasingly coming out on a tap. Because this AI can reason through really long horizons and actually execute complex code, the Jevons paradox kicks in. Essentially, because it's easier to make, our own demand for custom software is about to absolutely skyrocket. Section 3, the 3-day suspension. But, well, that software tap got shut off pretty abruptly. Just 3 days after the big June 9 launch, the entire AI world was hit with absolute chaos. Honestly, it reads like something straight out of a techno thriller. Let's walk through this crazy timeline. So Fable 5 drops on June 9. Fast forward to June 12, and the US government actually issues an emergency export directive. This forced Anthropic to pull their flagship models offline entirely for all users globally, mostly because they couldn't instantly verify the nationalities of their users. It wasn't until June 26th that the partner-only Mythos was restored just for US organizations. And Fable 5? It finally made its global return on July 1. Which, of course, naturally leads us to ask, why in the world did Washington intervene so drastically just 72 hours after launch? What exactly triggered a sudden federal export ban? Well, neutrally reporting the facts here, this is what went down. Researchers over at Amazon discovered a new jailbreak method that successfully bypassed Fable 5's guardrails, and it allowed the model to actually generate a working demonstration of a software exploit. Anthropic had to scramble. They trained a brand new safety classifier that blocked this specific technique in over 99% of cases. The government accepted that fix for the July 1st reinstatement, but Anthropic openly admitted this fix creates a higher risk of false positives for regular coding tasks. Meanwhile, those strict 30-day data retention rules required for the new classifiers caused so much friction that Microsoft actually pulled Fable 5 from its internal Copilot tool, simply because it conflicted with their strict zero retention standards. Section 4. Inside the architecture. Now that the dust has settled and the model is back online, let's slow down for a second and take a methodical look under the hood. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what makes Fable 5 tick. 120,040. That massive number is the character count of the leaked system prompt, which was extracted by a jailbreak researcher known online as Plenty the Liberator. Taking up roughly 30,000 tokens, this prompt doesn't read like some quirky personality script, It reads exactly like a highly complex product specification. It's packed with tool schemas, search rules, and safety postmortems. It literally waits until line 1,351 to even state its identity as Claude. And hidden deep inside those leaked prompt instructions is a fascinating capability. The engineers internally call it Claudeception. Basically, the model is explicitly instructed on how to call the Claude API from inside Claude itself. This allows it to autonomously build and orchestrate entire AI-powered applications right within its own chat interface. The technical specs supporting this whole shebang are just massive. Fable 5 boasts a default 1 million token context window, and it can generate up to 128,000 output tokens in a single request. It also features something called active context awareness, meaning the API is constantly updating the model on its remaining token budget so it can properly manage long-running tasks. But, as you'd guess, this premium agentic power does come at a premium cost. It's priced at $10 per million input tokens and a hefty $50 per million for output tokens. Section 5, the agentic era. So, what does this actually mean for your daily workflows? Well, it means we have officially, undeniably entered the agentic era of software automation. Fable 5 is custom built for sustained autonomy. You give it a high-level goal and it will plan across stages, delegate tasks out to subagents, and then verify its own output. Crucially, it acts using beta computer use tools. This means it can literally view screens, type on a keyboard, and move a cursor around just like a human operator would, directly interacting with pretty much any desktop application you give it access to. Now, keep in mind, Anthropic didn't just release Fable 5, they also dropped Sonnet 5. So the crucial point is knowing when to use which tool. Sonnet 5 is your faster, cheaper model for everyday industrialization. It's fantastic for standard coding, document search, and mid-tier tasks. But when a task requires complex, multi-step reasoning, and especially when the cost of an error is really high, like navigating massive code bases or running autonomous workflow automation, that is exactly when you bring in the heavy-duty Fable 5. We've seen how Anthropic took the incredibly raw, dangerous power of the Mythos preview and successfully forged it into the relentlessly proactive Fable 5. As software truly begins to flow out on a tap, I want to leave you with this final thought. If Fable 5 is now acting as the general contractor, breaking down goals, clicking interfaces, and telling coding subagents exactly what to build, what role is left for us in the future of work? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.